We have people speaking for Ron Paul. We've had about 10 people so far speak for Ron Paul. You can hear right now they're asking if there's anybody else that wants to talk about Ron Paul. We've had some animated people here expressing their support for Congressman Paul, a very boisterous crowd right now, Wolf. But it looks like we're done with the Ron Paul people, and I guess Romney will be up next. Wolf?
And then at some point they just will vote. They'll actually write their preferences on ballots, or do they raise their hands? What's the procedure there, Paul?
It's a ballot. This is just like the caucuses that were earlier today here in Clark County. Those caucuses were at 9 this morning. This is the final one, as you mentioned. Yeah, when we're all done, there will be ballots handed out, and the people will vote, and those will be tabulated and sent to the Clark County Commission, the Republican Party office, and they'll be added to the final vote total, Wolf.
Yeah, well, you know what I want to do, Paul? I want to just listen in a little bit, get a sense, a little flavor of what's going on at this special caucus. This is a Ron Paul supporter, I suspect.
On foreign policy in general, I know some of us want to be somewhere and others of us just want to come home, but warring and being all over the world costs a lot of money, and we don't have any. And I promise you that we will have to come home very soon, regardless of what your stance is, because we just don't have the money to support this stuff. And I'd much rather do it on our own terms than be forced and embarrassed because of bankruptcy, 5, 10, 50 years from now, whatever it may be. A little bit about sound economics. I don't really have any analogy for you guys, but it's really laughable that we, just continue to spend all this money year after year when we don't have any. And everyone thinks that it's different than an individual because we're a government, we can raise it, but eventually this is all going to catch up with us. And government spending itself is a tax. It doesn't matter what any candidate tells you his minimum tax rate or his maximum tax rate is going to be. 30 seconds. As the government spends money, you are being taxed, whether it's through direct taxes or through inflation, which crushes the lower classes. And inflation will come, I assure you it has to come. It's just mathematics, it's already here, and it's going to be coming even stronger if we don't stop this. Lastly, real quick on the Gingrich thing. Yes, those 4 years, the 4 years he was a speaker, the budget was balanced, and yet $1 trillion were added to the debt. That sounds like pretty typical Washington.
Time's up, sir.
And it's not a possibility.
Okay. Anyone else? There was a gentleman here. This guy with the right there was, and then. And please, as obviously I'm not trying to stop people from speaking. I just want to remind everybody, please, if you're going to repeat something that is said before, we're going to ask you to pass and let somebody else have an opportunity who has something different to say. Right.
Yes. First, I want to say I'm voting for Ron Paul. But I think all 4 GOP candidates are incredible men, and I'm very honored to be following all of them during the debate. But what I've heard is people describe themselves to Ronald Reagan. And Reagan did an interview with Reason magazine in July 1975. And he's... Sorry about that. He said that the heart of conservatism is libertarianism. He was following after Barry Goldwater. And what I would like to see is us get to a limited government, sound dollar, strong free markets, and free trade. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody who has something to add that was not said before? Okay, these 2 gentlemen had their hands up first, and then we'll come to you, sir.
Hello, everybody. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for caring enough to be here tonight. I work as a poker dealer and floorman, and I would like to let you all know that for those of you that do work for tips, Ron Paul considers tips to be a gift and not income subject to taxation. So if you support all those who work for tips, Ron Paul for them. Also, to stand with the American people, Ron Paul's going to accept a salary of $39,660 a year. He's one of us, not one of them. Thank you, everybody.
This gentleman here. Nothing. Okay. And then back. Yep, that gentleman there.
I'll make this real quick. When I came in, somebody interviewed me, and when they asked if I was a Paul supporter, I said I was, and they said, that makes sense. The young people are behind Paul. I'd like to explain that I'm a middle-aged man. I'm facing retirement. I appreciate the statement about being young, and I want to just really quickly say that Ron Paul, in my opinion, is not the young people's candidate. He's America's candidate, and we need to get behind him.
Okay. Is there anybody else who has something different to add? Yes, ma'am. Nathan, this lady up there.
I would like to speak on behalf of Dr. Ron Paul in that I believe he is the only candidate that would be good for the whole world, and not just Europeans, not just south of the border, not just anyone, but because he believes in peace, but he puts the action to his words if he's given the chance. He understands the history of this country. He more reflects the ideals of this country. Never mind that in this country there was slavery, there were wars that shouldn't have been started, that whether he really loves Israel in his heart, or Jewish people, or other people, or Muslims, it doesn't really matter. In America, we can believe what we believe, but we need to leave each other alone and stay out of each other's bedrooms, stay out of each other's countries, and telling other people in the world what to do. We need to have peace, we need to trade freely, and we need to have sound money. Another reason he came to Washington was because Nixon de-anchored the dollar from gold. And he understands what really causes the booms and busts and what is stealing our old folks' money in their fixed savings accounts. He is the only one that understands the economics. And I'm sorry, Newt is not a great historian. He's a revisionist.
The young lady there standing up. Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name's Kathy. I've been here in Las Vegas over 30 years. I work in the child care industry, and every day I look at these children and know that their futures are in trouble. And Ron Paul, I honestly feel in my heart and my soul, from making my own mind up and not watching the media where they've cut it and chopped it. And I mean, I've looked at some of the debates, and when they go on Ron Paul, the lighting's dimmer. Sometimes they don't even allow him to talk. They don't even get him into the conversations. It's just hideous how the media has been handling this entire thing. Ron Paul is for the people. He is for our rights. He is for our freedom. I think that if we continue the way we are and vote for anybody else, I don't think half the people realize how many freedoms we have lost already and how many more we're going to lose. Ron Paul is for the people, and I really honestly believe that he will get something done. He will bring this country back to where it belongs, and vote for Ron Paul. And I also have to say about the government, my son was also in there doing the vaccinations. They were inoculating him with stuff. They wouldn't even tell him what it was. Having to fill out forms twice a week saying what he felt like, using them as guinea pigs and not even telling him or even giving them an option to opt out. Something has to be done with our government and the way they're using our own men as guinea pigs. They have to stop.
Gentleman back and Nathan down here. And then in the back over there.
I think we all know where Ron Paul stands on the fiscal policy, on foreign policy, on the federal government. What I'd like to say is that when I think of the United States, I don't think of George Bush. I don't think of Barack Obama. When I ask my friends overseas, what do they think of when I say United States? That's what they say, Barack Obama, George Bush. When I think of the United States, I think of Idaho, I think of Florida, I think of Arizona, and I think if you want a man who's a proponent for states' rights, and if you think Nevada should be ruled by Nevadans, that's Ron Paul. I don't think that somebody in Washington, D.C. should be telling people from Arizona if their laws are right or wrong. I don't think that lawyers from New York should be telling somebody in another state what they should be voting for. I think if you want Nevada to make its own laws and stand by them and not have the federal government bring it down, I think that's Ron Paul.
Hi, my name is Bill. We've heard about Speaker Gingrich being a student of history. I think if we all were a student of history, we would realize that we are very, very quickly heading down the same road as the Roman Empire did. And I don't want to go down that road. I am sick of government spending, regulation, taxation, and really, really nonsense to support a few people. And so that's why I'm supporting Ron Paul. Thank you.
The lady back up here, Nathan. Okay, somebody get her microphone. She's been waiting a bit, and then him. And again, I want to emphasize: if you have something that is basically said before, please pass.
Hi, my name is Adva Klein. I want to say, first of all, the Republican Party is the party of the Republic. It's the party of the people, and it's for the people, and it's the party that supports the Constitution 1,000%, unlike the people we have right now in government that need to get out of government. And that's first and foremost. If we could vote for people that would serve in different positions in government, I think that would be great. If we could pick the jobs that they would fill in the cabinet, I would vote for Ron Paul today to do our budget for us and get us out of this financial mess that we're in. But I don't think that Ron Paul is the guy to lead the whole country. He's the guy to lead us out of financial mess. He's not the guy to lead us out of the whole mess.
This gentleman here, please, nope, you need to speak from where you're at, please.
Okay. I thank you for allowing me to address you today. I want to bring up a couple brief points that I'm surprised have not yet already been addressed. First of all, I want to say that, Ron Paul is truly the #1 friend of Israel and true Israeli independence. And, the proof is in the pudding. In the early 1980s, when Israel decided to bomb the Iraqi nuclear facilities, you may remember that, the United States Congress voted to condemn that action. Almost unanimously. There was one lone no vote, and that was Dr. Ron Paul. And not only did Dr. Paul vote against it, he stood on the floor of the House at that time. He stood on the floor, and he told the Congress that what they were doing was a shame, that what they were doing, condemning to violate that action of Israeli independence and Israeli sovereignty was a shame, and that they should be ashamed of themselves for following a UN condemnation. Ron Paul is the #1 consistent vote against the UN and the ever-increasing role that international bodies are taking in our sovereignty as well as Israeli sovereignty. And I also want to address one point which I'm very surprised has not been given on the floor here tonight. That is, Ron Paul is the only candidate with a plan. It's a plan to cut $1 trillion from the federal budget the first year. It would balance the budget by the third year, and it would fix our fiscal mess. The plan does all that without cutting a penny from seniors or a penny from veterans or a penny from legitimate national defense of this country, not a nation building, not acting as the world's policeman, not spending over $800 million a day in Afghanistan to defend the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan while we let our border stay as porous as Swiss cheese. Ron Paul is truly a man of integrity and consistency and honesty. He has a record unparalleled in government in perhaps a century. And that record, a record which he can fully embrace the entire election cycle, unlike any of these other candidates.
Break away from this special caucus in Las Vegas. Newt Gingrich getting ready to hold his news conference. Let's listen in.